You know what they should do? They should invent a wig that's also like really warm. So I could wear it and be like, oh, look, Barry's got hair.
Nobody would be onto that.
No one would be onto that. Barry should get hair transplants and grow his hair out like Trevor. I would love that.
I would be opposed to that. It'd be too jarring. We can't have that.
Yeah, with the long, the Fabio look. Oh, my God.
Oh, goodness.
That's
Is that Michael
not
Keaton?
bad. Should I get Trevor Lawrence hair? We've got a poll. I would do shorter. Like I would just, honestly, what I would actually do is I would probably keep my forehead. You know what I mean? Like just like I wouldn't go crazy, but I would just up here. It would just be, just more. I would fill in my,
Oh God. AI, very troubling.
But see the vote. Should I do that? Should I get the Trevor Lawrence hair?
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Happy Hour. B-Law, the AI offspring of T-Law, Barry Lawrence, drinks for free today for better or worse. I'm Jay Croucher, Matthew Berry, Lawrence Jackson. El Segundo, would Matthew Trevor Barry look better as a blonde or brunette?
Oh, that's a good question. I
think neither.
Yeah, do we have to choose one? Oh, that's a good question. Maybe a brunette.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. First of all, I don't know why in the still that we showed in the open, why he looked like Michael Keaton. Secondly, there is another photo, which maybe producer Stephen can bring up at some point during the show, that was floated in a group chat of you on a horse with hair, a colt, where you look like Nick Saban.
That was last weekend. That was a picture from my excursion last weekend. So yeah, I don't know. The whole thing is bizarre. I did briefly think about showing up in a wig today, but then I decided.
You decided against it?
I decided against it.
Okay, well, we don't have it.
You decided, you know what? I'm not going to look better than Lawrence did when he wore his blonde wig on this show. So I'm going to just keep that away.
I also said to myself, I said, you know what? No, you know what? Here's what's going to happen is Lawrence is going to show up in his Shedeur Sanders jersey, and I don't want to show him up.
Not yet.
But wait, why are you're in a Zach Wilson
It's
shirt?
an ode to Shedeur. Who's the next Zach Wilson?
No, we ain't going to put that on him. Yeah,
Come on.
I'm just a Zach Wilson fan, man. He's going to get another shot. He's going to get another shot,
in
man.
the NFL? Yeah. Why are you wearing
I don't know.
Why are you wearing a Houston Astros
How you notice
hat?
a Houston Astros hat?
Because it is.
What position does Jeremy Pena play? Is he a pitcher or a hitter? Yeah.
Stop.
It's all right. He won the World Series MVP. He's a
Altuve
shortstop.
is a Houston Astros player.
Yeah.
Is he still playing for them?
Yeah, he still plays.
See, there you go.
Yeah,
I'm up on my baseball.
They tried playing him
I don't
in
know
the
what he's doing
outfield.
over here.
Anyway, we love.
Like you've worn a Shedeur Sanders jersey multiple times on the show, and yet the one day where it actually would be good, appropriate, and rightful to wear it would be today.
You see, the thing about it, Matthew, is like, I would like to see Shedeur Sanders succeed. And there's other people out there that would like to see him succeed as well, right? But
there's some people that think he already has.
Yes. And so there's a
They're tweeting their way through it.
Right. Yeah, and it makes it tough for guys like me who, we just keep it football. I ain't into all the other stuff, so that's why I'm chilling right now.
Right.
But soon we gonna be here.
Okay. Well,
all right.
Lawrence loves Shedeur. We love the Houston Astros in baseball, which is on NBC, and we're going to talk about other things that we love. Love-hate today. Let's jump right into it. Jump into the running backs. Love-hate. And take a look at ranks 1 through 10. Christian McCaffrey. Jonathan Taylor, 4th? Yeah, put my man JT 4th. Did you see what he did last time? 5,000 yards and 1 million touchdowns.
I did indeed.
That's all right.
Kansas City has a very good run defense. I think they load the box.
Right.
Still 4.
Okay.
But just in terms of matchups and workload, I have JT at 4.
Still 3 spots ahead of Derrick Henry, who comes in at 7. Very favorable matchup for the King against the New York Jets, who obviously have no Quinton Williams. Not sure they've really faced the rushing attack to take advantage of that yet. But the King quietly seen his workload really ramp up the past 5 games.
Yeah, I mean, look at the touches, right? That first column, since week 6, he's had at least 20 touches in 5 straight games. He's averaging 105 yards from scrimmage during that stretch. And by the way, since this time, since week 6, when they've started, going back to King Henry, he also leads the NFL in goal-to-go rushing attempts. When they get in close, they give it to Derrick Henry as well. And it's worth noting, the reason we bring up the touches here specifically, Jay, is because that running backs that have seen at least 15 touches against the Jets, and again, since week 6, he's averaging over 20. But running backs have seen at least 15 touches against the New York Jets. They're averaging 19.7 fantasy points per game. Derrick Henry makes the love list. As you saw on the screen, he's my running back 7 this week. High expectations for King Henry.
What I like about that, too, Matthew, is you saw on that screen all of those were double-digit fantasy point games. And for a guy like Derrick Henry, who doesn't catch a lot of passes, and even some of those games he didn't get a touchdown, but still being able to get those double-digit fantasy points is key for a guy like him.
Indeed. Speaking of big workloads, Bijan Robinson against the New Orleans Saints. Falcons 2-point dogs in that game now, but expected it will be close enough that he is going to get substantial workload, and I think game scripts should get too far ahead of them, and I think there's a very good chance, Matthew, he is the number 1 wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons.
Very true. You just criticized the fact that I have him ranked ahead of Jonathan Taylor. I have Bijan ahead of him for a lot of those reasons. I agree with you. I think he's not only the leading rusher, but very potentially the leading receiver for Kirk Cousins, who honestly doesn't seem to have the arm strength he used to have prior to the Achilles injury. Just feels so. I could see more dump-offs than even normal with Bijan Robinson.
With Kirk, there's some Uncle Rico throwing the football over those mountains type of vibes. Just kind of seems to sail on Kirk at the moment. Chase Brown, Matthew.
Yes, sir.
Might have a new quarterback. He'll have an old quarterback returning against the Patriots. I'm a little skeptical that Joe Burrow will actually be back on Sunday, if you read between the lines of the reporting. But
he did practice in full yesterday.
Practice in full, yes. But Joe Flacco, the reporting has been that he is going to get the full practice snaps today with the first team. So I don't know. You're splitting time between Joe Burrow and Joe Flacco. If Joe Burrow is actually going to play on Sunday, we'll see. Anyway,
2 comeback players of the year. It's hard to choose.
Yeah, one of them might win it again next year.
That's right.
But the Patriots, they give up a lot of receptions to running backs, the most in the league.
That's
Chase Brown should take advantage.
As you see, they're giving up 5.7 receptions per game to opposing running backs. That is the most in the National Football League. And the reason we talk about that over the last 2 games was Samaje Perine on the bench. You know, he's been out. Chase Brown has a 26% target share. Over the last 2 games, Chase Brown is getting a 26% target share. Samaje Perine listed as doubtful for this Sunday's game. We don't expect him to go for the for the Bengals against the Patriots. And so you expect Brown to once again be heavily involved in the passing attack against a defense that, again, gives the most receptions per game to opposing running backs. It's also worth noting, over the last 2 games with Samaje Perine out, Chase Brown is 4th among all running backs in utilization score. He's averaging over 21 touches a game. Just so massive usage, not just in the passing game, but just overall as well. He's been averaging 19 fantasy points per game. He's been like a top 4 running back over the last 2 weeks as well. So I'm at running back 8 this week. I know the Patriots have a good defense, but I just think the usage will there. And if Joe Burrow comes back, here's what's weird is would the line move that much? Because Flacco's actually been pretty good.
I was about to say, before last week's game, coming into that 4 games with him starting, they were averaging 32.5 points a game.
Yeah.
That's Joe Burrow, just off of production.
It seems insane to say that, but
it would move, particularly after what Flacco showed last week.
Yeah, I get that.
It's the thing is it's not as cool having Joe Burrow when your defense turns every opposing quarterback into Joe Burrow as well. This is, I'm not kidding, statistically, this is one of the worst defenses in the history of football.
Yes.
There is just nothing there. They have a 15-point fourth-quarter lead to Justin Fields and lost in regulation. It's completely insane.
Yeah.
Footballer.
In the history of the sport.
Yeah, in the history of the sport. Need to choose between these players in the sport of football for 2 running back spots and a flex. Chase Brown, Breece Hall, Quinshon Judkins, Tetairoa McMillan, and Travion Henderson. Too many options, 3 exclamation marks. Lawrence?
Well, definitely Travion Henderson.
I agree with that. I would also add Chase Brown. You just heard me talking about him. And then, so now you're looking at Judkins, Breece Hall, or Tetairoa McMillan. I'm going to go with Tetairoa McMillan.
Yeah. T-Mac, potential offensive rookie of the year. 6th in the NFL in receiving yards right now, I believe. Anyway, one of the names mentioned there, Lawrence, is Quinshon Judkins, who gets a favorable matchup against the Raiders. First favorable matchup in a while for Judkins, who's really struggled to generate anything on the ground, just no blocking in front of him.
Yeah, and not that the Raiders are some just complete pushover on defense, but they're like middle of the pack. But in these last 3 games, they've been semi-generous. We just saw Javonte Williams go for 93 rushing yards against them. Week before that, Dobbins 77, and then Etienne 84. Judkins himself, he hasn't averaged more than 3.5 yards per carry in a game since week 5.
Yeah.
That was against the Vikings overseas, where he went for 23 for 110, had the long touchdown callback, so he really had a good day. And then you look at this over-under. Ooh. 36.5. That's the lowest of the week. That's the lowest. This tied for the lowest of the season. Know who had the other one? Browns and Vikings in that matchup. So I expect them to try to get the running game going, let Shedeur play off of that. That's what they tried to do with Gabriel too, but they didn't push the ball downfield. So Quinshon Judkins, I think he'll get a lot of opportunities versus the Raiders.
Yeah, the good thing for Quinshon is at least it's different now. This is something different about the offense, because the status quo, that enduring, it was just Quinshon getting tackled behind the line over and over again. The Browns have been able to generate nothing in terms of just gaps for him to run through. So maybe we should do a bit more of a three-point threat. There is upside for Judkins. Neck brace nation. So we get another little close look at Lawrence's famed blonde hair. Judkins or Jeanty rest of season?
Oh.
That's pretty close.
That is very close. It just sort of tells you here.
I
think it's Ashton
I think Jeanty goes to the receiving one.
I got to still go Jeanty, because he's had multiple games with 6+ targets in the game. Judkins just not getting it. We don't know what it's going to look like with Shedeur. You just got to know what you're going to get with Jeanty, but I would lean
the
Jeanty.
receiving there, but it's close.
Yeah.
It's close, and it's not pretty.
Good question, Neck Brace Nation. All right, let's have a look at some others receiving votes. Headlined by Travis Etienne, who just keeps on enduring, Matthew.
Yeah, since week 8. Since their week 8 bye, Etienne, 21 touches per game. He leads all running backs in red zone and goal line rushing attempts in that span. Yes, we've seen Bijan Robinson come on, and we like Robinson quite a bit, but the Cardinals have allowed multiple rushing touchdowns to running backs in 3 of their past 4 games. So I think there's a chance that Etienne and Robinson could be useful this week against the Cards. How about Emanuel Wilson? Still a chance that Josh Jacobs plays in this one, but right now we're operating with the idea that Wilson will be the starter for the Packers. 6 career games where he's had double-digit touches. He's averaging 13.3 fantasy points per game in those games. And then how about Ken Walker III? He gets Tennessee. Mike McDonald saying this week that Walker's earning more opportunities to get the ball. I mentioned that because 7 of the 10 running backs that have seen at least 14 touches against the Titans have scored at least 1 touchdown. More work for Ken Walker playing the Titans. Ergo, ipso facto, therefore, he makes others receiving votes. Yeah. I'm at running back 19 this week.
Yeah, I thought it was a huge tell the way that Clint Kubiak called that game against the Rams, where even when they're down 2 scores late, I'm still going to run the ball, because we don't want Sam Darnold in a traditional drop-back offense. I think they have the offensive line for that. Don't think they trust Darnold for that either. So Kenneth Walker is going to continue to get work, and the Seahawks should have a relatively low pass rate over expectation. T. Spitsky, I really need insight on Josh Jacobs' injury, because I have to make a decision on Emanuel Wilson or Woody Marks this week in the flex, and that decision has to be made tonight, Matt.
That's right, because obviously the Texans play the Bills in the Thursday night football game, and I get I like Woody Marks tonight, obviously. Bills have struggled defensively as well, but I think the Packers are so run-heavy. Vikings 25th against the run over the last 4 weeks, so for me, I think I would just hold out and just say I'm going to start the Packers running back. Again, Marks has had really nice usage, but it hasn't turned into fantasy production. Only one of the last 3 games has Marks actually been good fantasy-wise. So I feel better about, quote, the Packers starting running back.
I don't think he has Josh Jacobs, though. So it's Emanuel Wilson or Woody Marks. So I would go with Woody Marks for that, because I don't think that if you have no better options,
that's different.
If you have no better options on the waiver wire, then I think that I don't think the gap between Emanuel Wilson and Woody Marks is significant enough to offset the risk that Josh Jacobs ends up playing.
Yeah, I agree with you, actually. Okay, I misread the question. But I would if you did have Jacobs, I would use the Green Bay running back. Or just wait to see. But assuming you don't have Jacobs, then I agree with you, because there's a non-zero, and I don't know if it's 5% chance, 10% chance, 30% chance that Jacobs plays, but we've just seen this before where Jacobs, he's out. He doesn't practice all week, and then he shows up and carries the ball 20 times. And so right now we expect Wilson to play, but because there's a non-zero chance that Jacobs does return this week, I think you got to go with Woody Marks tonight.
Yep. Okay, let's jump to the hate list headlined by the Tampa Bay running backs against the Rams, Matthew, on Sunday Night Football. Expectation, Bucky Irving may be back for this one. And so it becomes a huge puzzle, actually, who is going to get the work between Bucky, Sean Tucker, and Rashad White.
And that's the point, right? I mean, even if Bucky Irving doesn't return, you're still like, what's the workload? Did Sean Tucker earn a bigger workload here? Is it going to be more of a committee between him and Rashad White? There's definitely a chance that it's a three-headed committee as well. And it's worth noting that the Rams are tied for the fewest rushing touchdowns allowed to opposing running backs. It's been a really good run defense as well. Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is literally the only running back since week 5 to run for more than 67 yards against the Rams, right? 3 times this season. Only 3 times this season have the Rams even given up 15 fantasy points to an opposing running back, and 2 of them were Christian McCaffrey. So you just got a really good run defense with a very messy situation here. I will say at the moment my ranks are I have Irving at 23, I have Rashad White at 37, I have Sean Tucker at 46. But, it's just a mess, and I think you want to wait to see it. And the fact that you've got multiple running backs in a tough matchup here, Lawrence, to me, it's a stay away if you can.
So Sean Tucker just had that big game,
yes,
right?
Sir.
Remember last season he had the game where he ran for almost 200 yards, and then
the Saints game. Yeah,
we kind of never heard from him again for that season. And we know they like him, but it's just like you just never know, especially if Bucky Irving back in the fold. But to your point, still a tougher matchup anyway.
Yep. My best guess, and it's just a guess on how this is going to shake out, is I think that Bucky Irving will play. I think he'll split early down work with Sean Tucker, and then Rashad White is the predominant third down back. And none of them.
And that's an ugly situation, fantasy.
You don't want any of them.
You don't want any of it. No, exactly.
Okay, well,
and then, by the way, and then watch like Baker Mayfield score 2 rushing touchdowns,
exactly.
like this, right? And like none of them will be useful. Yeah.
Indeed. Okay, well, a guy you still want to start, but I would lower expectations for a little bit, staying in that same game. Kyren Williams.
Sure.
Going up against the Bucs rush defense, which I know 2 weeks ago they gave up some long runs to Travion Henderson, but I don't think that's predictive of what's to come. Like those were 2 isolated runs on a down-to-down
basis. And Kyren Williams ain't
basis.
Travion Henderson from a speed.
Doesn't quite have that burst. I think it's more indicative of what James Cook did, or rather didn't do, against their defense. Even in a game that finished at, 76 total points, James Cook wasn't really able to get much going on the ground. It's still Vita Vea. It's still the Bucs run defense. I think the total for this one is almost 50. I think it might be a bit more of a defensive struggle than that, and Kyren Williams struggles to get going on the ground. Another running back who may struggle, Lawrence, is Ashton Jeanty, who, even in good matchups lately, can't really do a great deal, and now he gets a brutal matchup against the Browns' rush defense.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it, too, is, Jay, in their past 2 games, Cleveland has allowed both Derrick Henry and Breece Hall to have 80 or more rushing yards, right, which is solid. We'll take that. The thing is, Derrick Henry's got a quarterback named Lamar who you got to worry about running. Breece Hall's got one named Justin. You don't have to worry about Geno taking the ball, running down the field. And so for Ashton Jeanty, who is already struggling, look, Week 11 versus Dallas, caught 6 of 8 targets, 27 yards, still didn't get double-digit fantasy points. That's crazy. If I told you those passing numbers for any running back, you would assume, especially this PPR, not double-digit fantasy points. 1 game this season with at least 75 rushing yards, and he's only got 1 game this whole season where he's got double-digit points in fantasy, and he didn't score a touchdown. So he needs a touchdown for it to pay off. And in a game that's 36.5 over/under, I don't know how many touchdowns are going to be in that. So he's on my hate list for this week.
Yep. Browns defense is legit. The team's going to finish like 4-13, but that defense is unassailable.
It's a defense that you could see playing in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah. Here's how good the defense is that the team's probably going to go 4-13, 5-12, whatever. They're probably going to have the defensive player of the year in Myles Garrett, who's minus 300 on DraftKings, and they're probably going to have the defensive rookie of the year in Colston Schwestinger, who's minus 220 on DraftKings there. Aloha Bricks, that Raiders-Browns game needs to be broadcast on the radio. It doesn't even deserve to be broadcasted on the TV.
Yeah.
I like the TV.
On the TV?
The television set.
See, Aloha Bricks, we can't do that, man, because we got a quarterback in there that's...
Yeah, that's what I'm missing, Aloha Bricks. The Raiders-Browns game, I Like, I love the comment, but the truth is that it's must-see TV.
That is going to be.
Because one of two things happens. Either Shedeur Sanders is awesome, which will be great to see and fun, and he can shut up all the haters, or Shedeur Sanders is terrible. And, like, all the haters will be enjoying it and,
it'll be
dancing around. But either way, Shedeur is one of the more polarizing players in the NFL. I think that's fair to say, right? One of the more polarizing players.
That might be an understatement.
and so just like, you've got lovers and haters alike that will be tuning in to watch that game.
It's very much, and me and Connor talked about this a little bit the other day. It's very much Tim Tebow-like when he was doing this thing. Shedeur Sanders could throw the ball a lot better than Tebow, but I'm just talking about like the whole
circus.
Yeah.
I will say as well, like, Geno Smith has not been good this year. Love Geno Smith. Great story. Won money on him for Comeback Player of the Year when I used to win money on that award before I started losing on it annually.
Yes, for sure.
But he is also, like, it's pretty bad, and that's kind of compelling theory as well. Like, where's Geno going to throw it next?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
So, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a
He's got to run. He's got to worry about Myles Garrett hunting him down.
It's no good. Although Hard Bricks, okay, then we can broadcast it on the Weather Channel for you, Barry. All right. We'll speak to the Weather Channel people. Speaking of the weather, by the way, as soon as I looked at you, Lawrence, I was changing my papers in the rundown. I expected them to just fly away. Just kind of still in my head from
I'm
Philadelphia.
still freezing from that day.
And the link. All right,
and by the way, we have to. It's even worse. This Sunday we're here. We're in the friendly confines of the happy hour bar. But the following Sunday we have to go to Kansas City. We're doing it live from Arrowhead.
Yeah, well,
that's going to be very cold.
It will be cold. I think it'll be a good test for us as men because we failed the first test. Then we're going to do it.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be ready this time.
I'm getting ready too. And also,
be ready.
George Savarides is not going to be ready because he will be. Because it's in Missouri, not Pennsylvania, so legally he can host the show and travel to it. But he will be hosting. He won't be ready.
No, he's as soft as anyone I've ever met.
He's as soft as butter.
Yeah, my God. His
soft as butter on a 100-degree day.
So God,
George the Greek don't like it in windy Arrowhead.
Absolutely not. He's used to being on the sandy beaches, sipping martinis.
Indeed. Yep. All right, Pebble Beach, George. All right, let's come to love-hate pass catches, Matthew.
Sir.
Take a look at your ranks, 1 through 10. Puka Nacua on Sunday Night Football headlines the list, but coming in at number 6, ahead of the likes of Justin Jefferson and Nico Collins, is T. Higgins against the Patriots with no Jamar Chase.
Yeah, obviously that's a big part of this as well. His last 3 games that he's played without Jamar Chase, he's 23 fantasy points, 110 receiving yards in each of them as well. You see on your screen, here's what he's been doing with Joe Flacco under center, which at the moment is the expectation against New England. He's averaging over 20 fantasy points per game and 85 yards per game with Flacco under center. He's been seeing at least a 20% target share. So, in essence, basically, he's already got a nice role in this offense. And now Jamar Chase, who commands such a massive target share, won't be playing as well. Now, there's a concern, of course, that will he be shut down a little bit by Christian Gonzalez? This is a pretty good defense for New England. But I think Higgins is good enough. They'll move him around enough as well that they'll be able to get him the ball. It's worth noting that even with Gonzalez, wide receivers that have seen at least 7 targets against the Patriots this year, and obviously we expect Higgins to get at least 7 targets, they're averaging 18 fantasy points per game. So just volume, Higgins' talent, and just kind of like the laser focus on him gets you there, I think.
Yep. By the way, the point spread on that one, which was Patriots -9 a couple days ago, is now down to Patriots -6.5. So
do you think that's people hedging their bets that there's a chance Burrow plays?
Yeah, a little bit. I think it's more like the line won't close 6.5. It won't be 6.5. It's either going to go closer to a field goal, inside of a field goal, if Joe Burrow does play, and if he doesn't play, then it'll go back out to -9. I suspect. So right now, just the market hedging its bets a little bit. Staying in that game, Matthew, Stefon Diggs is on my personal love list.
Yeah, the Diggler.
The Diggler. It's not much to say here. He's playing the Cincinnati defense. Yeah. I thought what was interesting, he threw it out there that he's playing with a broken finger. And he had a broken finger. And then Drake Maye on the podium was like, he's probably just being dramatic. Like he complains about this stuff all the time, which I like, and I think is a sign of kind of good culture there.
And
because there would be a time in Stefon Diggs' previous stops where that might have caused a stir. But I think Diggs Continues to come into his own, coming off the ACL injury. The more time removed from that, he looked fantastic against the Jets, over 100 yards. Could have had more as well, left a bit on the table as we look at the most passing yards per game conceded. The Pittsburgh Steelers are number one, only because they played Joe Flacco on that Thursday night game, but the Bengals are second, which is stunning when you think about how much they give up on the ground as well. But I think ultimately Stefon Diggs should do whatever he pleases against the Bengals. And also, if Joe Burrow does go, which I don't think he will, but if he does, then that would imply that the game is going to be closer and that the Patriots don't have to queue in the rack for the fourth quarter and are throwing throughout. Let's go to the NFC South, Matthew. Chris Olave against the Falcons. Chris Olave with a quarterback who doesn't mind pushing it down the field, and it was pretty competent his first two starts.
Yeah, he's got kind of that shuck it attitude as well. Team high 31% target share for Chris Olave in the first game without Rashid Shaheed. So that's just a stat that tells you what you know. No Rashid Shaheed. Chris Olave already had a massive target share. It bumps all the way up to 31% without Shaheed. He went 5 for 104 with a touchdown. And now you get Lawrence Jackson's Atlanta Falcons that have just taken on tough times.
Yeah.
Just sad times.
What happened. It seemed like yesterday they was whooping the Buffalo Bills.
No, but you lose your quarterback, you lose your star wide receiver. Next thing you know, Lawrence is on national TV and a Houston Astros hat.
see what happened? And it's not even like before those losses. It was like they was just lighting it up on people. Yeah.
But anyway, Falcons have allowed at least 18 fantasy points to a wide receiver in 4 straight games, an opposing wide receiver as well. So Olave is my wide receiver 9 here as well. I could just see, you this morning with your wife, like, Lawrence, what do you want to wear? Like, here, I got this Falcons hat, I got this braid. No, give me Houston. I got to get far away from the ATL.
Well, if you look at the rack, it's like all Atlanta hats, then it's like LA, little Houston, Pittsburgh from the time we went out there. And anything but that rack over there. Just give me something from over here.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, speaking of Pittsburgh, Lawrence, Colston Loveland gets the Steelers. We'll see who's at quarterback for the Steelers, but it'll be Caleb Williams for the Bears. The Steelers have really struggled against tight ends.
Yeah, and Caleb Williams, when he gets to scrambling and running around, he's looking for the tight end, whether it's Loveland or Cole Kmet, right? The thing about Loveland, first 5 games of his rookie year, played 45% of the snaps. Now, the last 4, he's played 75% of the snap, and it showed he's no less than the third option on this team in 5 straight games just based on receiving yards alone. Then you go to Pittsburgh, right? They allow the 5th most fantasy points per game to the tight end position. So when you talk about guys like Noah Fant, who was able to catch 5 passes against this Steelers defense, I like the upside for Colston Loveland here in a matchup versus the Steelers.
I like the analysis, just like, he's not Noah Fant.
Yes.
Come on, even Noah Fant did something.
There you go. He did a little something.
Question from Dr. J, who's no relation to me.
I know. That's Julius Irving. Julius Irving.
That's definitely
no relation to me.
That's cool. The real Dr. J.
Yeah.
Great to see you.
Thank you,
We're
Julius.
huge fans.
Yeah,
You can even see the picture that is him.
Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, Dr. J, I think it's Quinshon Boutte here.
Yep. Gotta go versus the Bengals.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gotta go versus the Bengals.
One of the most efficient receivers in the sport of football. All right, well, hitting another tight end, Matthew, Travis Kelce, one of the lone bright spots for the Chiefs on a devastating loss to the Broncos, but looked a little bit like the old Travis Kelce, and now he goes up against a Colts team that has been hit and miss in the past game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, specifically around tight ends, Jay, to your point, they've given up a touchdown to a tight end in 4 of their past 5 games. They're allowing the 2nd most yards per game to opposing tight ends. They're giving up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. So it's a good matchup for tight ends in general. And now you've got Travis Kelce coming in since week 5. Kelce 2nd in the NFL among tight ends in receptions per game. He's got a 21% target share. And in a must-win game where Patrick Mahomes is like, this is our season, man. They can't go below 500. They have to, this is a must-win game for the Chiefs. And so if you're 15, if you're Patrick Mahomes in a must-win game, what are you doing? You're going to run a lot. You're going to do whatever you can, but you're obviously going to be looking for 87, his most trusted weapon over the years. So we like Kelce quite a bit this week. He's my tight end 5.
Yep. It's as we look at Matthew's top tight end rankings, Kelce 5th in between Dallas Goedert and Oronde Gadsden The second, it's
Which is so crazy, by the way.
Yeah.
If you'd said that at the beginning of the
Gadsden,
season between Goddard and Gadsden.
I called that one, actually, Gadsden in advance. I think what's going to happen is that, the Colts get Javarius Mooney-Ward back for practice. Likely going to be off IR and back for this game. And then I think the Colts have the best cornerback room in the NFL between Kenny Moore in the slot, Sauce Gardner and Javarius Ward out wide. So you suspect that if Mahomes is going to have someone to throw to, it might have to be Travis Kelce because all the
Do you think they would put Kenny Moore on Kelce?
It's a bit of a height mismatch.
I understand. Yeah. I understand, but I'm just...
They could go safety. They usually put a safety on him.
Yep. It's
sometimes linebackers.
It's pretty wild. The Chiefs, their splits between man and zone.
Yeah.
Like they just can't do anything against man coverage. No one's getting open. So they may rely on Kelce busting zones in that one. All right, let's get to some others receiving votes.
Yes, sir.
Headline, Matthew, by superstar from last week, Tetairoa McMillan, now one of the favorites for Offensive Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, we just talked about it. We answered that question earlier as well. And one of the reasons why is 4 straight games with at least a 27% target share. His target share since week 8 is actually 3rd highest in the sport. Since week 5, Jay, the 49ers, by the way, allow the most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. We saw what Michael Wilson did to him last week as well. How about Jameson Williams, who, since Dan Campbell took over the play calling 2 weeks ago, he's been a top 10 wide receiver in back-to-back weeks. Giants allow the 5th most yards to wide receivers. The aforementioned Wilson gets Jacksonville this week, who allows the 4th most yards per game to perimeter wide receivers. Team high 32% target share for Wilson last week. No Marvin Harrison Jr. this week. Your man, Alec Pierce, makes the list.
AP.
Jay. AP.
The greatest AP to ever play football.
1,000%, sure. Since week 7, he's the 17th best wide receiver in fantasy, 26% target share during that stretch. Kansas City, since week 7, allows the highest completion rate on passes of 15 or more air yards. And then finally, I got some bad Cincinnati Bengals stats. You want to hear some?
Yeah. Right on me.
So, no team in the NFL has allowed more yards to opposing tight ends than the Cincinnati Bengals. No team in the NFL has allowed more touchdowns to opposing tight ends than the Cincinnati Bengals. No team in the NFL has allowed more fantasy points to opposing tight ends than the Cincinnati Bengals. Hunter Henry is a tight end. Therefore, ipso facto, ergo, obviously, Hunter Henry. I'm going to use ipso facto quite a bit. Anyway, he's a top 12 tight end for me this week.
You guys call Alec Pierce. I call him all day because that is how he operates. By the way, Tetairoa McMillan. We'll go to the question first. Brian Hickman, full PPR, Alec Pierce, or Michael Wilson?
Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong because I like both these guys, Brian, but give me Michael Wilson.
I think Michael Wilson with the usage. I agree there. With Tetairoa McMillan, now it's a bit annoying that he hasn't had his bye yet, and so he only has 6 games left. Most players have 7 games left, but I think that he is going to be potentially a top 5-7 receiver the rest of the way. The way they changed his usage against the Falcons, Dave Canales had a great, very in-depth soundbite on this about moving Tetairoa more into the slot, putting him in motion, moving around the formation, not having him just isolated out wide as the X receiver. Now, I don't know why it took them until week 11 to do this because he's really good, but it really seemed to activate their offense. And look, he's just a superstar. He's a superstar talent.
Yeah, he could play too,
I think that's going to manifest over his final 6 games.
Dave Canales swinging him around, and different...
Finding different angles for him to pound.
Different angles for him to pound.
It's helping. It has helped Bryce Young, which is what it was intended to do, right? So it'll be interesting to see him now with that momentum go on the road now. Well, they was in Atlanta, but it don't really matter. But going to San Francisco is completely different than going to Atlanta.
Indeed. Still, though, favorable matchup against the Niners.
Yeah, for sure. They hurt and stuff, but...
All right, let's get to the hate list. Matthew, Xavier Worthy, who you drafted, who you declared in the preseason, hasn't been his year.
No.
And now he gets that vaunted Colts cornerback room all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's going to be either Javarius Ward, who, as you mentioned, is back, or Sauce Gardner. You don't love that. Since week 5, he's got literally one game, where he's finished higher than wide receiver 36. He hasn't been higher than wide receiver 36 except for 1 week since week 5. He's had a below 12% target share in 2 of the 4 games since Rashee Rice returned. There's nothing other than his talent that we saw, in college, and we saw flashes of towards the end of last year. There's nothing to hang your hat on here with Xavier Worthy. It's just the production hasn't been there since Rashee Rice has come back. The offense doesn't look great. The Chiefs did not look good last week, guys, and so and this is a big game for the Colts, too. As much as I'm saying, like, it's a must-win for the Chiefs, and it really is, the Colts need to maintain pace. The Colts have a shot at the number 1 seed in the AFC.
Oh, yeah.
And so many people have said about the Colts, like, they're a little... They've beaten up on some mostly bad teams, and this would be a signature win.
Daniel Jones got to bounce back this game.
That's right.
Yep.
Because he's been kind of reverting back to the turnover-prone days. But if he could bounce back this game, then all systems good.
This would be a signature win for the Colts.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they beat the Broncos early in the year.
Now, what if Jonathan Taylor have a big game? Similar to how it was versus Atlanta, where he literally ran them to the win? Then are we really talking MVP shot for him?
Oh, if he goes for 200 against the Chiefs, then
maybe
absolutely.
like 150.
Yeah, 150 and 2 touchdowns against the Chiefs. Who get
He's
back
in the mix.
I think Stafford might have set the bar pretty high now for a running back. We'll see. I'd love to see it as a Colts man. I do think the other thing too with the Colts is that, say what you want about them, they have a really good coaching staff off the bye. I think Shane Steichen will fix some stuff with Daniel Jones under pressure, and Lou Anarumo will come up with a game plan. Against the Chiefs offense is a little shaky, not as dominant as it was. Speaking of not dominant offenses, Lawrence, Trey Tucker, the Raiders, in that game that we've spoken about against the Rams.
Once again, 36.5 over under here. Congrats to Trey Tucker for becoming the Raiders wide receiver one now. And, he caught 4 passes for 47 yards, a touchdown in garbage time versus the Cowboys. But that's just it. It was in garbage time.
Yeah.
I don't know. This will be like a back-and-forth slugfest between struggling offenses here. A wide receiver hasn't even caught a touchdown pass against Cleveland since week 6, and that was DK Metcalf. So I would say Trey Tucker probably need a touchdown for him to eat. Like, he needed that touchdown last week to get double-digit points. I think it's just going to be tough with Myles Garrett and those guys barreling down on Geno Smith, who's not the most fleet-of-footed out there. So Trey Tucker makes my hate list this week.
Yep. Myles Garrett, by the way, needs 8 sacks in 7 games to break the all-time record. Which would be crazy to do that.
That's in play.
On a team that's going to have 13.
And he won't have a guy that,
it's too bad he's not facing Shador.
Well, no.
Shador holds the ball so long. He's going to take 5 sacks. What's
Max
the over-under that?
Crosby's sack prop's going to be 1.5.
It's too bad he's not going against Brett Favre, because that's who let Michael Strahan get the record like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Indeed. All right, last name for us on the hate list, TJ Hockenson, which saddens me. But he's going up against the Packers, and this is just a reflection on J.J. McCarthy and where he's at the moment. Hockenson just has not developed that rapport with McCarthy. TJ Hockenson has 9 receptions in his past 4 games. He's just completely unplayable.
Been brutal.
Now, he did get more targets against the Bears, but still, he turned 6 targets into 6.9 fantasy points. The week before that, 2 targets, 8 yards.
Yeah, it's just they're hiding J.J. McCarthy. Hockenson, we know he's super talented, but they just can't seem to get him the ball. Since week 9, as you see it there at the bottom of your screen, he's averaging 6.3 points per game. He's tight end 26 since week 9, TJ Hockenson.
There's a
Crazy.
touchdown as well in there. Yeah, it's not good. So I think J.J. McCarthy, maybe he'll turn into a great quarterback at some point in his career. It's not now. He leads the NFL in off-target throw rate, and Justin Jefferson is the only guy that you feel good about in that offense, if you even feel good about him. All right, we're going to hit our first break. When we come back... Wow. See,
what is that?
Is Matthew Berry as Nick Saban on an Indianapolis Colts horse.
It's a weird
with
one.
Trevor Lawrence's
hair
mixed with the princess.
It's like the bad guy in Ghostbusters 2.
It looks like a little Nick. It's Nick Saban, and there's a little bit of Tommy Lee Jones in there.
Tommy Lee Jones, a little late era, no country for old men, Tommy Lee. Mixed with Nick Saban on the aforementioned Colts horse. It's no good what AI is doing to society. We'll discuss this after the break.
Are you a Star Trek guy at all, Connor?
No, sorry.
Yeah. So
Neither am I.
I'm not a Star Trek guy. I was much more a Star Wars kid than a Star Trek guy, but I'm familiar enough with Star Trek. And you are you have enough knowledge.
Somewhat of a baseline. Like I understand. The show is not on planet Earth. That's
correct. Right. Yeah.
Yes.
And you know the character Spock?
Yeah.
You ever heard of Spock?
I don't know. I can Google it.
So Spock is basically Spock is emotionless. Like he's very logical. He's very smart on the show, but he is emotionless. He shows no emotion. That's his.
That's Jay.
That's Dr. Spock over here.
Okay, well, Matthew, being held to account, Chris Heffernan, who played in the AFL for the Essendon Bombers once upon a time. Maybe not the same guy. Not to nitpick, but the Star Trek character is Mr. Spock. Dr. Spock was the baby expert, Matthew. You screwed up. Tricky Dicky 33, not a former AFL player. Barry, Dr. Spock is not a Star Trek character. That's Mr. Spock. Dr. Spock was a 20th century children's doctor / author. The Vulcan first officer on the USS Enterprise was never a doctor. What's wrong with you, Matthew? Why are you attacking a medical degree
Let me just say
to Mr. Spock?
Dicky 33, you know what I have to say to you? Nerd! That's right! You passed the nerd test!
Look at him.
Exactly! That's right, I got you guys! Exactly! I threw a Dr. Spock in there, and then all the nerds came to play. Oh, no, he's Mr. Spock!
I saw how you walked it back and changed it from Star Trek to Star Wars, as if it was much difference in those two.
You're a Star Trek guy, Lawrence?
No. I'm just saying. Right. Live long and prosper. Yeah. Can you do that?
Yeah,
this is how Vulcans shake hands.
That looks weird.
That looks weird.
Yeah, well,
I don't like that at all.
that's how you do it.
Terrifying.
That's how you do it. Live long and prosper.
Connor
Come
said,
on, Lawrence.
No, look, I'll hit you with one of these right here. There you go, right
Unbelievable.
there. Connor said, I just know it was not on planet Earth.
Very broad, yeah. No, I haven't watched the show Friends, but I believe it's on Earth. That's all I know about it. All right, let's get to love-hate quarterbacks.
We caught you, nerds.
Star Trek a bit before my time, Matthew. Quantum Leap was the first sci-fi show that I watched in like
Fair
1989. All right, let's take a look at 1 through 10 in the QB ranks, headlined by
They
Drake
had the
May.
movies, though. You're a big movie guy.
Yeah,
the
big
Star
movie
Trek
guy.
movies.
Sure,
They had.
they never grabbed me as much as Star Wars. I'm like you, a Star
Fair
Wars
enough.
guy.
Anyway, you see Drake May there at my #1 overall quarterback. It's all bad Cincinnati stuff, right? 5 of the last 6 quarterbacks to finish a game against the Bengals have scored at least 20 fantasy points. They've given up at least 2 touchdown passes in 9 of the past 10. They have the second highest implied team total this week as well. So the only concern here is does the same thing happen where Travion Henderson just runs a bunch of touchdowns in and Drake May has a great game but not a huge fantasy day? But look at the last 6 quarterbacks against Cincinnati. Bo Nix, Jared Goff, Jared Love, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Fields, and Caleb Williams, all, with the exception of Love, all had north of 20 fantasy points. Caleb over 38, Nix with 25, on and on and on. It's a great matchup. May's playing as well as any quarterback in the NFL. He's my #1 quarterback this week.
Second favorite to win MVP. A guy who has a couple MVPs, Lawrence, Patrick Mahomes against the Colts. Season on the line.
Oh, yeah.
Big total. Chiefs 3.5-point favorites. What are you expecting from Patrice?
Love that 50.5 over under there. But Patrick Mahomes, quarterback 27, weeks 9 through 11 in fantasy points per game. But you're at home now. You're going against the Colts, who, even with Sauce Gardner, allowed 3 touchdowns, a 2-point conversion, and a field goal to the Atlanta Falcons. Right? So now you're Patrick Mahomes, who you've only had 8 rushing yards in your last 2 games combined. The previous 4, Patrick Mahomes averaged 37.5 rushing yards per game. So he has to run that ball. Justin Herbert, when he went up against this Colts defense, he used his legs. And they didn't win the game, but it was effective to that end. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to run the ball more. He's going to do what it takes. I think we're going to have to get playoff Patrick Mahomes, and we know he runs the ball more in those situations. And like you said earlier, Matthew, these Chiefs at home can't afford to go under 500. So Patrick Mahomes on my love list this week in your top 5.
Yep. I think what we're going to see a lot of is a lot of man coverage, a lot of guys not getting open, but then also not much pass rush from the Colts because that's not really their strength.
Right.
And a lot
No
of Patrick
DeForest
Mahomes.
Buckner anymore.
DeForest Buckner, it's a lot of layout to Latu and not much else, so Patrick Mahomes might scramble around. Matthew Stafford, he's the MVP favorite. He plays on Sunday Night Football against the Bucs defense that Josh Allen just scored 1 million touchdowns against.
That's exactly right. They're 31st in pass defense, the Buccaneers are, since week 5. They give him over 277 yards per game. And then you think about how Matthew Stafford has played. He's been red hot, obviously. Puka very healthy. Adams very healthy. No quarterback has more pass attempts inside the red zone this year than Matthew Stafford. Rams have the 4th highest implied team total this week. And so, again, we talk about it all this time. Tampa Bay, very good run defense, kind of a pass funnel defense. So I think it is, a really favorable matchup here for Matthew Stafford. He's my QB6 on the week. And I am sure I will be talking about Mr. Stafford on Football Night in America later this week.
Indeed. Okay. Question from Cobra Kiger. Shot for shot, Matthew Stafford will outscore Josh Allen this week in fantasy.
I don't doubt
like
that at all.
Cobra Kiger. I mean, again, the Texans defense is legit, short week.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like Josh Allen because of the rushing, but not a crazy shot.
Yeah.
Listen, if the
crazy.
Rams get inside the 5,
Yeah,
inside
sounds
the 3, they are throwing that ball.
right.
Devontae Adams, that's like how Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams used to look with those little pop,
No doubt.
pop touches. Yeah.
Indeed. Okay, love list for me. We missed out on Brocktober due to a turf toe, but we segued straight into Brockvember.
Yeah, sure,
and Brock
of course.
Purdy now on Monday Night Football gets the Carolina Panthers, a very susceptible pass defense that does not scare you. I think the main thing is that Purdy, he just looked like himself against the Cardinals. Not so much the stats, which were great, and he had the 3 touchdowns, but he was just moving around freely. He looked a lot better than when he came back the first time from this injury. So Brockvember rolls on in earnest. Let's get to others receiving votes. Headlined by Jared Goff. Matthew, with a bit of an easier matchup this time against the Giants and the Eagles.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know he was brutal last week, but I'm back in this week. Last 4 weeks, the Giants allow passing touchdowns at the highest rate in the sport. Since week 6, they allow 25 fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks. And how about Jacoby Brissett, who, since he became the starter, is literally the 4th best quarterback in fantasy football. He's been a top 12 quarterback in all 5 weeks. 5 of the last 6 quarterbacks to face the Jaguars have had at least 20 fantasy points.
Okay, let's jump to the hate list, headlined by a guy whose presence on this list almost need not be outlined, but J.J. McCarthy against the Packers.
I mean, he's been under 160 passing yards in 4 of his 5 starts. He's 31st in yards per pass attempt. Packers allow the fewest yards per pass attempt this season. There's literally nothing that, I know you hang your hat on, they're going to throw Justin Jefferson and Kevin O'Connell, but yeah, I mean, you can't be starting J.J. McCarthy, not even in a 2-quarterback league.
Yep, probably can't be starting Kirk Cousins either, who not only has he looked how he has, but now he
Would you go McCarthy or Kirk Cousins, who I have here?
McCarthy is the rushing, I think.
Yeah. Kirk. So the
I guess McCarthy.
The reason I got Kirk
choice.
Cousins here, just in case there's people out there who may get cute, and think, oh, this is just the Saints. Well, Kirk Cousins doesn't have Drake London.
Right.
He's 4.8 yards per pass attempt, whereas
He doesn't have the
Penix
rushing either, yeah.
doesn't have a rushing. 39.5 over and under. Just a lot of things. Like dump-offs to Bijan's not good enough to start Kirk Cousins this week.
Yep. I still think you're likely starting Dak Prescott, but I would lower expectations for Dak. I understand he was great against the Raiders, but now he goes up against the Philly defense. They might be the best in the league, the way that they're playing. They are looking frightening, and they've shut down some elite offenses, particularly the Lions recently, naturally. But I think Dak kind of showed against the Broncos in particular that I don't think that this offense is as defense agnostic as it looked like it might have been earlier in the season, where I think that a great defense can still shut them down. Dak played well the first time he played the Eagles on opening night, but didn't really get the stats. I think the Eagles defense is much better than it was then. Okay, we're going to hit our last break. When we come back, it's the last call. We're going to talk about Bills-Texans and tell you our best bets for Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL, and new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the app and use the promo code FFHH when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook.
Oh, the crown is yours.
That crown yours.
Crown is yours. All right, it's the last call. Take a look at the most bet props on DraftKings for Bills at Texans. A lot of Josh Allen, as you might expect.
Josh Allen two passing touchdowns for Josh Allen at plus money, Lawrence.
That's solid. That is,
right?
Yes, it is. Anytime he got 2 touchdowns, I like that a lot.
Yep. I think that might be a reflection of the fact that when they do get in close, unlike Matthew Stafford, he doesn't mind running it in.
He running it in.
Josh Allen. Okay, let's talk about our best bets. I'm going to go with Josh Allen over 32.5 rushing yards. We saw what he did on the ground against the Bucs naturally. When he played the Texans last year, he went for 54 on the ground. And I think a big part of that is that the Texans love to play man coverage. What happens in man coverage, often there is not a spy. It almost cost them the game against the Jags as we were cheering on the Texans, Matthew, and Trevor Lawrence almost ran far enough to give his kicker a shot at the game winner. So I think that Josh Allen, I suspect that there's going to be a lot of guys covered in this game. There's going to be a pass rush that is fierce for the Texans, and that Josh Allen is having to move around a lot in this one, and he'll get to 33 rushing yards. What do you got, Lawrence?
I agree with you, Jay.
Thank you, Lawrence.
That's why I have Davis Mills throwing for more passing yards than Josh Allen in this game. That's at plus 106. Davis Mills has been averaging 283 passing yards per game. Now, Josh Allen has thrown for over 305 in each of his last 2 games, but one of those was at Miami, comeback mode, versus Tampa Bay. One of them was like a quick throw to Ty Johnson, 55 yards for a touchdown. And I expect more of the Texans to kind of be in comeback mode, to whereas Josh Allen won't be. So give me Davis Mills for more passing yards than Josh Allen.
Okay,
I like that one.
Matthew, what do you got?
I'm going to go with Nico Collins to have the most receiving yards in this game. That's at only minus 110. Look, he's had over 90 receiving yards in both games with Davis Mills. You think about the Bills' offense, and just there's not one guy that demands targets on Buffalo's side of the ball, right? You've got Shakir. You have some of the deep threats there as well. Ken Coleman. We'll see if Shavers gets more work as well. But it just feels like they spread it around so much. Yep. And Nico Collins, who is it's such a narrow target share for Davis Mills. Give me Nico Collins to have the most receiving yards in this game at minus 110.
Yeah, some are calling Nico Collins a Davis Mills merchant.
Yes.
I'm not, but people have said that.
I think for any guy on the Bills to get 90 receiving yards, it'll have to be like a one long play type thing.
Exactly. So you see it there, like you're starting Cook. We have Marks as a flex. Chubb is only a desperation. Obviously, you're starting Josh Allen and Nico Collins. Dalton Schultz I have as a top 8 fantasy tight end here. Higgins is a desperation wide receiver 4 tonight.
Yep, Shakir in the flex, obviously, is starting.
Yep.
James Cook as well. I believe we may have some Star Trek content.
Okay, what do we got?
Out the show. DM Jesus, I don't know how to say that. Pick one, Star Trek, Star Wars, or A Star is Born.
Yeah, it's Star Wars.
Yeah, Matthew doesn't like A Star is
Born. I hate Star is Born.
Yeah. We won't go into that, but I would
that's
agree.
That's a rant for another day.
I think Star Wars. What's your favorite Star Wars movie, Matthew?
Empire Strikes Back is pretty awesome. I think
a Return of the Jedi guy, which I understand is not the correct answer, probably. But screw it. Magnolia is my favorite film, and Return of the Jedi is my favorite Star Wars movie.
That's not nearly as outrageous as Magnolia being your favorite movie is all that Return of the Jedi. But I also, by the way, love the original Star Wars. What about you, Lawrence?
Dancing with the Stars.
There we go.
The original Star Wars, just because I was a kid and the first time I saw that.
I will say, the original Star Wars,
figures.
The first 30 minutes, they're in the desert for like forever. Nothing happens.
Yeah, I get it.
Nothing
I get
happens.
It. All right, it's closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Go read my 10 facts column on rotoworld.com. For Lawrence and Jay, I'm Matthew. Good luck tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.